In 1977, for the first time in United States history, gender markers were put on passports, and they could be changed with proof of gender reassignment surgery. 48 years later, in 2025, the Trump administration has made it more difficult for transgender people to live here now than in 1977. How? By forbidding the change of gender markers under any circumstances. This unprecedented ban impedes trans people obtaining passports that accurately reflect their identity and subsequently their safety. On January 20th, 2025, President Donald Trump decided federal agencies will only recognize two genders:
male and female.
The White House released an executive order federally declaring that these sexes are not changeable. Just 3 days later, the State Department prohibited the updating of gender markers on new and updated passports, suspending applications and withholding important documents. Will President Trump's anti-trans laws affect driver's license and other identification cards for travel? To find out, I talked to Carl Charles, a senior attorney at Lambda Legal.
Fortunately, state identity documents, driver's licenses issued by Department of Motor Vehicle Services are not controlled by the federal government. As of right now, I don't see any interference between the federal government, the executive order from the Trump administration, and the Real ID Act. Whether that continues to be the case remains to be seen.
At the very least, you will need the following documentation to receive a Real ID. While passports are issued federally, Real IDs are state-issued and aren't required to execute Trump's executive order, despite them being federally mandated. That means whether your Real ID has to match your gender assigned at birth is up to the state that you're in. Erin Reed, a journalist and transgender rights activist, has been tracking anti-trans legislation for 5 years on her anti-trans risk assessment map that she actively updates to show which states transgender people are most at risk.
So many people were clearly wanting to know which states were safe and how to judge their state that they're in. And so I went through and I looked at all of the laws in each state. I looked at all the momentum around anti-trans legislation in these states, and I classified them on a risk level. And those stripes indicate that it might be dangerous for people, not just to live there, but to travel through if you're not careful, if you don't know the laws.
For example, these 4 states have complete bans on changing your gender marker for driver's license or ID cards. Texas and Florida are on Erin's do not travel list. These 10 states require proof of surgery, court order, or amended birth certificate to update your gender marker, which, coincidentally in these states, is not easily obtained.
If you're a transgender person and you have to present a driver's license that has the incorrect gender marker on it, each time that you present that driver's license, you open yourself up for harassment and abuse. If it's at a bar, you get a bartender that may not like transgender people, and they see that driver's license, that opens you up for harassment. If you get stopped by police officers and they see that the gender marker is different, and you get a particularly transphobic police officer, they could give you more scrutiny. They could target you more. It's a very real risk for people.
Even though there hasn't been federal movement yet, doesn't mean there won't be. So what should we be on the lookout for? Now,
one of the things that I think a lot of people are concerned about is if the federal government decides to enforce the Real ID Act by mandating that, similar to Florida, that gender means sex assigned at birth. We've seen many stretches from this administration targeting transgender people. We've already seen this used on passports. The fear is real. It's absolutely something that can be weaponized. And what we are seeing is this administration is willing to weaponize anything that it has towards the transgender community.
I think people should move quickly. I think people should move expeditiously, right? Time is of the essence, but I am reminding folks that you should think about the decisions that are best for you and the resources you need to make those decisions and do the things you need to do to feel safe and secure.
There currently has been no federal movement on the Real ID mandate, but people like Carl Charles and Erin Reed are on the lookout for more threats from President Donald Trump.
It is an open sort of ticking time bomb of potential.